Hi, this is God Sham God.
And I'm Jose.
And this is Talk to God. Hi, this is God Sham God. We're here with the great Andre Barrett, and we're here with Jose again. So we're just trying to catch up with Andre Barrett and see what's new with him and things like that. Can you just, introduce yourself to the people that don't know you,
My name is Andre Barrett, from Bronx, New York. Went to Rice High School, went to Seton Hall University. After that, played in the NBA for 5 years, played overseas for some powerhouses like Barcelona, played in France, played all over the world. Had a 13, 14-year career professionally, and now presently work in the NBA league office.
Nice, man. I mean, when I first saw Andre Barrett play, I think, man, he was like in junior high school.
Yeah.
And it was like in Riverbank Park, and I was just like, man, this kid's amazing, things like that. And just to see, how far you took basketball is amazing. But tell us about like those days playing at Rice, before the great high school Rice closed down.
Well, I mean, for me, I always knew my history. So going to Rice, even watching guys in the Catholic League like yourself, Reem Breed, Felipe Lopez, the list goes on and on. Yeah. But, you guys set the stage for a person like me. So when I got to Rice, I felt like I had to hold up the legacy of New York, honestly, because there was so many tough dudes. Yeah. Like you said, you saw me in junior high school. I was one of those kids that was going to the high school games and sitting there and watching you and watching your fan base and just how you carried yourself. And I knew that was the next step for me. That's what I wanted. That's what I worked hard for.
Yeah, growing up back then, it was you, Talik Brown, Omar Cook, stuff like that. Who was probably your biggest opponent back then when you was in high school?
Honestly, I think everybody. I'm not even gonna lie, because I was smaller than everybody. Yeah. I was the little one, so everybody wanted to go at me. For whatever reason, they felt like I had to prove to them every time. It wasn't, someone saying, oh, I heard Dre's nice, and they just gonna let it be. Everybody wanted to challenge me. So, of course, Omar and Talik was, in the same senses as me. But there was other guys all over New York that always wanted to get at me, and I always had to show them, I was on a different level. And, I always watched what Omar and Talik was doing. So it was like, if I get a game where I get 20 and 10, I'm looking at the newspaper, Omar over there getting 15 and 15. I'm like, exactly. All right, I got to turn it up the next game. So that's how I always looked at things.
You know what I think you don't realize? How much you set the standards high for other kids that they have a chance. Because like you said, your stature, you're only 5'8", 5'9", and you played 5 years in the NBA.
Yeah, correct that. 5'9", 5'10". Don't give me 5'8", 5'9".
What advice would you give a young kid who's small in stature to make it? Because you made it. What advice would you give a young kid?
Well, one thing, you just always got to feel like you belong. One thing I always, it always registers in my head is something Mark Jackson told me when I was probably like in the 10th grade, 9th grade. I went to work out with him. And he told me, the game of basketball is 90% mental and 10% physical. And for me, that mental aspect, I always felt like when I stepped on the floor, I was the best player. Yeah. And in order to make the NBA, you got to be a little bit crazy. Yeah. In some sense, you got to be crazy to think that you're going to have a job and there's only 450 jobs. And you're going to be one of them to have them. And then for me, I got to be a little bit extra crazy because the average height is about 6'2".
Yeah, definitely.
6'2", and then it goes up from there. Probably the average height is 6'5", but it's no spots for me. Exactly. People like me. So I always felt like I belonged. I always felt like I was the best on the floor. And when I stepped on the floor, I always was gonna make sure that once that game was over, y'all was gonna mention me before anybody else, how I affected the game.
What you think make New York City so special, like as players, as the way we grew up and things like that? And when you look at the NBA now, there's so many guys that play like they're from New York. And, when we came up in those eras, basketball was totally different, so we couldn't really play like that. But when we look at the game now, you see all these point guards are like the leaders of the team. You know, when we was growing up in New York, the point guard did everything. Like, you know, we rebound, pass, assist. But then when we got to the NBA, it was more like, okay, you got to run the team. But now, the new millenniums, you know, the point guard is now just like how New York City point guard is.
I think the way the game is played now in the league is how we grew up. We played with 4 guards and 1 big man.
Yep.
Small basketball. So for all of us, you played next to another guy that was a point guard, and you had to do something special to separate yourself from them. You know, like Sham said, once I got in the league, it was like, you got to be a point guard. You got to run the team. You got to play this way. When we was in high school and college, in AAU and even in college, play your game. Go out and do what you do best. So, you know, in order to continue to make checks in the NBA, you had to play that style of play. And it wasn't no room for, if you was a scoring point guard, to be like, okay, we're going to play 2 point guards. It was, you're a point guard. The next guy that was a 2 guard, he was 6'5", 6'6", then it kept going up. So it wasn't no room. You was a point guard, and that was it, and you needed to run the team. That wasn't your job to kind of score and show your flashiness. But now, the kids is able to express themselves in so many ways that's what New York was made about. We were known as the flashy guys.
Yeah, so like, that being said, that, you know, we is known as the flashy guys and thing like that, why do you think New York City basketball is so different now than from when we grew up? Because like when we grew up, we was like the trendsetters. So like we did other states and everybody followed us, but now it seemed like we're trying to catch up with other states now.
Well, now they got an eye on what's going on. You know, you could look at your phone from IG or, you know, other social media avenues and see what's going on across the world. So for us, if you wasn't in New York, you didn't know what New York was really about. Now you can look at it through your phone and see, oh, this kid is doing this move. Oh, I'm gonna do this move, and I'm in Utah somewhere. I'm gonna be the New York, Utah guy. You know what I mean? So they had a chance now they have a chance to look at it through their phones. Before it was like, in order to have that respect from New York, you had to be in New York. You had to come there and show how good you was amongst all those New York players that was already hungry.
So now, like, you know, doing the stuff you're doing now, what's like the best advice you give to kids or kids that's aspiring to be, okay, the next Dre Barrett, the next Sham God, the next Salik Brown, or things like that, where they're trying to rush the process instead of like focusing on building a career, you know, practicing hard and things like that?
I would say, you know, set goals in front of yourself. You know, and one at a time. Don't just jump to saying, I'm going to the NBA. Everybody skips the fact of being good in high school, being good in college. And I'm not talking about setting a goal of just being good. You want to be the best high school player that you could be, the best college player you can be. And then the rest will take care of itself once you get to the NBA. It's extremely hard to get there, and everybody knows that, especially ones that went through it. The ones that have never went through it, they don't realize it until it happens. So for me, you know, delivering a message to them, I would just say, you know, focus on what's ahead of you.
When you was in college, who was the best point guard you played against?
Wow. Whew. I mean, there was a lot of dudes. I mean, Jason Williams I played against when he was at Duke. The Big East that was a dogfight every day. Every day in the Big East.
Definitely.
Conversation me and Sham was having one day we was riding in the car, walking by, seeing how they fixed the parks in New York, fiberglass. We didn't have that when we were younger. But there's no kids in the park playing, you know, making their craft better. What do you think? You think is AAU taking that away? How did you get better? Did you get better by playing against guys older than you in the park where you from, or was it AAU? How do you feel about that?
No, I mean, I learned from, you know, the development of being able to get on the court in the park. I mean, as a kid, you come there, you dribbling, you trying to get on. They ain't putting you on.
Serious.
You too small, you
earn
too
your
young.
way. You had to earn your
so,
way.
you know what I mean? You sit around, you dribbling on the side, they go down on one side of the court, you shoot the ball.
Do you think a kid needs that right now?
I think, you know what? These kids now, they get the opportunity to go to the gyms and they get spoiled with the air conditioner and all that.
Exactly.
They closed the gyms on us and we had to go outside and settle for whatever it was on the courts. Like, outdoor courts, half a moon backboards, double rims, all those type
Exactly.
of. But we just wanted to play. We didn't care where it was. It could be 100 degrees outside. We just wanted to get out there and hoop. But now these guys are kind of prima donnas in a sense where they want to go in the gym. If the air conditioning ain't on, cut the AC on. They got the trainers. They got, you know what I mean? They got so much stuff that we just never thought about. We just wanted to just get out there and play as many games as possible. We might play on one block and then go get something to eat and walk to somebody else's block, and we got 5 and we want to play against them. So.
Exactly. Like, so coming up in New York, one of the biggest things that people don't know what makes New York so great is growing up and watching street ball players and stuff like that. And I think it's a misconception when they say street ball players, because growing up, I saw people that was considered street ball players, but they went to college too. So I think it's a difference between you saying somebody a street ball player and the person that went to college that plays street ball and things like that. What has the streets of New York basketball taught you to incorporate in your game going to college and the NBA and things like that?
Well, playing in places like the Rucker, the fans and the people in the crowd, they hold you accountable to being who they say you are.
Exactly.
So if you step out there in the park and you don't perform, you're going to hear it. You're going to hear it from the crowd. You're going to hear it from your boys. You're going to hear it from everybody. You're going to get back to your block. They might not want to talk to you. So, as far as going into those, them parks and playing in the Rucker League and street ball, tournaments, we held ourselves accountable on how good that we was going to perform out there. And it's funny because some people would be talking smack before they even get to the court on what they're about to do.
True.
And you got to be ballsy to be able to say something like that and then do it.
Yeah, no.
And then if you don't do it, the crowd is going to let you hear it. And I've seen guys who went out there and then perform and then come back again.
One thing about your game that I always admired, that some games you were aggressive, you went to score, and some day you fed whoever you had. So how do you approach a game when you play, and what player reminds you of yourself today that you would go see play?
Well, the reason why I always played that way is because I always felt I had this utmost confidence in myself that I could take over the game whenever I felt like it. So, and that's how I thought, honestly. I'm telling you, that's how I felt. So at times I would play, to play the course of the game and see who's not scoring or who's not scoring, and who is scoring. You know what I mean? You got to feed the high hand. One thing I am is I like to read people. And I like guys to play with me. So you can tell if the big man is not rebounding the ball, he got an attitude about something. He ain't getting the ball. So I got to get him a couple of touches because I need him to rebound. I can't do everything. Well, my 2 guard, he ain't getting no touches. He want to score. I play with a dude named Kenny Satterfield. He want the ball. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So with him, it was kind of like, okay, I'm going to get you the ball because I know you want to shoot the ball. But guess what? There's other players on the team. So I'm going to let you get your touches. But if you screw up and miss a couple, I'm looking the other way, and you got to understand that, but I'm going to come right back to you. So it was kind of like playing chess. While some guys is playing checkers, I'm over there playing chess because I'm reading everybody. And then when it was time to take over, usually I called it my last 3 minutes of the game, nobody touching the ball. It's mine. And I'm going to make all the decisions.
Exactly.
And that's how I approached the game. And even if I got off to a good start, I'll slow it down on purpose just to make sure everybody else is involved and then, do what I do. But I think the player now recently that I've enjoyed watching in college is probably Tremont Waters.
Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I really enjoy watching him because I haven't seen, too many guards with his IQ and the way he plays at his size and, just, taking over games when he needed to. I think he did a real good job at that LSU.
Yeah, he grew up kind of like a phenom. Like his father was on him every day and things like that. And people that know you, I know just recently you lost your father, but I know your father's like a big influence on your life and for all of us growing up.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Things like that.
His father was a great man.
So stuff like that. How did you growing up and your father being with you like all the time and pushing you and stuff,
it's funny, he quietly pushed me, like, because he was a guy that loved everybody. He, you know, he was friends with my enemies. You know what I mean? Like, it's funny, like, going to ABCD camp, all the top players at camp, and he cool with all the guards that I'm going up against. Like, you know what I mean? Him and Chris Duhon hanging out. He over there with Talik. Like, it's like, yo, dude, like, we don't talk to them right now. Like, but he always had love for everybody, and he treated everybody as he treated me. So it was like a little bit of motivation to show him how good I was. And he always would just be like, all right, you did all right. Like, but it was never like, that's my boy. Like, you know what I mean? He would never do that, which I kind of fed off that. And I mean, it carried me to all the way to, you know, being a pro. And for him, he never thought that that was realistic until it happened.
When you got that first NBA check, what went through your mind, man? When you saw your name on that NBA check, what went through your mind, Dre?
Now, you know what's so crazy? It goes right to the deposit right into your account. So I was still playing it as if I'm not even getting paid. Like, I wasn't even thinking about, all right, when that first check hit. It was kind of like, you know, deposit right to your account or whatever. And I was just like, all right, I'm not even looking at that. I know I got a couple of dollars there, but I don't know how much, and I don't want to know how much. And it wasn't until probably in like December, I looked into my account. I was like, what? Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, what is this? Like, you know, and now you sitting there like, okay.
Did it make
like,
you
I
wanna...
can go and buy anything, but I still thought, like, you know what? I gotta save this. Like, I don't know when this will run out.
Did it make you want to work harder? Did it make you, I gotta stick, I gotta make it?
You know what? I always had the stigma of being small. So that was motivation within itself. Like, it wasn't about the money or anything like that. It was more of just my competitive nature and knowing that I beat the odds. So, you know what I mean? Why don't I just continue doing that? Because a lot of people counted me out from the start.
It's like, it's funny because, like, when you come from the hood, like, you just want to make it so bad so you can take care of your family, you want to take care of yourself. And I remember, like, when I got my first NBA check, I was like, man, I could buy my mom's a house, I could buy a car. I remember the first car I went in, I got a Navigator. I was driving back and forth to New York like every day, not understanding about $100,000 miles and stuff. I'm going to New York. New York is 4 hours from DC. I'm just going to New York every day, not caring in the world. And you know, when you come from the hood, you get that amount of money, you just think like you're gonna be rich forever. You know, and what people don't realize that, you know, tomorrow is not promised for nobody as far as life or basketball. So when you was making your money and stuff like that, and you know, you buy things in the beginning, when did it slow down for you to say, okay, I really need to focus on like saving money and doing
life
the right
after
thing?
Basketball?
Yeah.
I think it took a while because we all don't know what we want to do after basketball. So, you know, for me, you know, I spent on things that I like. I say one thing, that you always have to go through the process.
Always.
You have to. It's nobody.
It's a learning process.
Yeah, as much as someone tells you save this, save that, you're always gonna want to go and get the nice chain. You're gonna get the nice car. You're gonna buy it, you know, somebody in your family, the nice car or the house or whatever you can afford. And you're gonna continue to go get the nice clothing and whatever. But at a certain point of your career or your life, you kind of realize that all that stuff really doesn't matter. Facts. And, you know, what you have in that account at the end when it's all said and done matters.
Yes.
And then also, you know, finding that transition from, you know, once you stop playing to what you're gonna do after that. I mean, one thing, you know, I spoke to a lot of, you know, young kids that's going through this process now. And I'm like, while you're relevant and while you're a person that is playing and people know who you are, go out and, you know, talk to these resources. And,
yeah, definitely.
And you know, whatever the league office has or the PA has that to offer, whether it be broadcast or whatever, get involved in it because you're relevant. They know who you are. They can put a face to, you know, the person's name, and it'll take you a long way. So your transition will be easy. Once you're done, you could just walk right into whatever you like and enjoy.
No, exactly. You know, watching the modern day NBA, like I said, we from New York, so of course, we love point guards more than we love anything. for you, like, who is some of the best point guards you like that's in the NBA right now?
I would say, gotta say my young fella, Kimba.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
How was that watching Kimber do the things he's doing, knowing that, you know, Kimber grew up watching you and stuff like that, and you was before him and you set the tone, and probably, you know, he would say you set the bar for when he went to Rice and things like that. So for you to see him now, he's, you know, he just got paid $141 million.
And an honest answer, man. Did you think he was going to be NBA All-Star?
You know what? It's funny because Kimba's from the same neighborhood as me. And like Sham said, he grew up probably watching me and Kenny Satterfield. And his dream was to go to Rice. And, you know, he ended up going to Rice. And at the time, I was still in the NBA. He was in high school. So I wasn't, you know, at the end of the day, I'm on my grind. I'm still trying to, you know what I mean, collect checks and stay on teams. And, you know what I mean? So I wasn't, you know, back at Rice as much as I wanted to be.
Definitely.
But when Kimba went to college, it's funny because his first year, he played okay. Sophomore season, it wasn't as good as how he expected.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, I was home, and every day that summer, I would go cross the bridge, because I live in Jersey, cross the bridge, come pick him up from the neighborhood, bring him back across, and we would work out every day. And one thing I always told him, it wasn't a matter of him being able to work out with me. It was a matter of me expressing and showing my experiences with him. Because
sharing that
one
knowledge.
thing we know is that in New York, it's highs and lows.
Yes.
When you high, everybody wants to be around you. When it's low, people scatter.
Exactly.
And I was telling him, this is a moment where you're gonna see who your real friends are. And I said, don't be discouraged about it, because you're gonna get another shot. You got another year at UConn. You got actually 2 more years.
2 more years, yep.
You get what I'm saying? And I know how hard you work, because we in the gym every day. And you pushing yourself, and you pushing yourself to the extent of, you know what? You due for a good year.
Yeah.
And I said, watch these people come back. And it just so happened, and I wasn't even expecting the year that he had, but he had a remarkable, you know what I mean, college season his junior year. And I was super excited for him, because I told him, I said, what I did with you, you're gonna do this for somebody else.
Exactly.
It wasn't about me trying to get anything from you, because
course.
at the end of the day, I got my own.
Yeah, exactly.
But just me and you being able to have this moment, you're gonna remember this, and now it's gonna be another kid that is in the same shoes as you,
You're gonna do the
from
same
the same neighborhood, and you're gonna do the same thing. And it might be at the end of your career.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know what I mean? It might be at the end, towards the end, but it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's gonna happen. It happens to all of us.
Yeah, that's just how life works. So now at the stage that you are in your career and things like that, what do you see next for yourself?
Well, I mean, for me, I'm trying to be in the front office, general manager or something. I mean, you know, the coaching, it's a tough job to have. You know, dealing with, you know, some of these young guys and relying on, you know, them to kind of help you keep your job. But I mean, I think, you know, I'm learning the front office business and just, you know, the analytical side and the scouting side, and just, you know, just educating myself every day and being around, you know, some guys in the NBA office that really, you know, understand the business of the NBA.
Yeah, definitely being around, you know, good people and things like that. If you could give one advice, Jewel, to another young person that said, I want to be like Andre Barrett, what would you tell them?
I would say, you know, while you're young, enjoy the game. Have fun with it. That's something that, you know, a lot of players get away from, is enjoying the game. When we was young, it was always fun. As we keep going up, it becomes a business and you lose the fun out of the game. And I will also say, you know, be humble. Be humble, because the same people that you see going up are the same people that you're gonna see going down. And you're gonna need those people. Definitely. As much as you don't think you might need them, you're gonna need them. And that's something that I learned, that by me being humble and just, you know, appreciating everybody around me, whether you're the water boy or you the GM or the president.
Yeah, because life is relationship-based anyway. So, like, if you have good relationships it'll carry you way further than being an NBA All-Star and not being a good person. Being from New York, last question, being from New York, in the NBA, you know, we grow up on dribbling. That's, you know, that's what we're known for. Who in the NBA right now you feel has the best handle in the NBA?
Probably Kyrie.
And
Kyrie.
why do you think Kyrie, it makes him that much special?
What gives him
He
the
just-
edge?
Yeah.
He just ain't afraid to try anything, honestly. Like, it's funny because I know Kyrie since he was young, and me and him used to work out when he was, before he went to St. Pat's. And he always had that fearless, like, I don't care who you are, I'm gonna try to pull some move out on you. And sometimes I would tell him, like, yo, you doing too much. But he was just so good at just reacting. Like, he had 7 counter moves in one move. I'm like, yo, what was that? But he always had that in his game. And for him to, you know, take that step and to display it in the NBA, I mean, he's, you know, his dad is from New York, so.
Yeah, definitely. Ross
Got
Strickland
your
is his
girl.
godfather.
Yeah.
But, you know, this is, you know, Andre Barrett, Dre the Point, everybody call him. You know, thank you for being on Talk to God, and we appreciate you, man. Thanks for all the advice.
Appreciate you for
Dre.
having me.
My God.